Look around you. Why is it that some people seem to print money in their sleep while the rest of us are constantly running out of it? Meet Joe. He works 50 hours a week, skips the fancy coffees, and does everything right. Yet his bank account is a tragic comedy. He's playing the game exactly how he was taught. But here is the brutal truth. The system isn't broken. It's just designed to keep him broke. Meanwhile, the top 1% aren't working 50 times harder than Joe. They aren't magical beings. They just operate on a completely different source code. Hard work actually equaled wealth. Every construction worker would be a billionaire. The real separator isn't muscle or sweat. It is right here. It's the brain. The top 1% think, process, and react to the world using a completely different set of psychological principles. We are talking about 6 specific mental frameworks, 6 cheat codes that separate the people who build true wealth from those who just pay bills. Today, we are hacking into that mindset. No fluff, no think positive nonsense, just the raw, cold psychology of the incredibly wealthy. Let's start with principle number 1, the time horizon. This is how you perceive and value the future versus the present. If you ask the 99% what their goal is, they think about surviving until Friday or maybe paying rent next month. Their entire brain is stuck in survival mode. Short-term pain, short-term reward. It is a biological trap designed to keep you on the hamster wheel. But ask the 1%? They are looking 10, 20, even 50 years down the road. They are playing a multi-generational chess game. When you stretch your time horizon, your decisions drastically change. You stop chasing quick dopamine hits and start planting seeds for oak trees. That weekend impulse buy?
I am so
The
happy
99%
right
see it as a
now.
treat. The 1% see it as stealing from their future empire. You cannot build long-term wealth with short-term thinking. You have to literally force your brain to zoom out, way, way out. Let's move straight into principle number 2. If the first rule is about time, the MON is about vision, pattern recognition, also known as the ability to read the financial matrix while everyone else is blindfolded. When the economy shifts, inflation spikes, or the stock market crashes, the 99% see pure, unadulterated chaos. They panic. They sell everything at a loss. They hide under their desks and pray for the sky to stop falling. But the 1%, they do not see chaos. They see exactly what it is, a repeating historical pattern. They understand that human psychology never changes. Markets breathe in and markets breathe out. History doesn't just repeat, it rhymes. While everyone else is blinded by emotion and reacting to the daily news cycle, the wealthy are zooming out to look for the repeating loop. Every recession, every real estate bubble, every crypto boom and bust. It is a predictable roller coaster. The average person buys at the absolute peak because they are driven by the fear of missing out. They follow the herd over the cliff. And then when the cycle inevitably crashes, they sell everything at the absolute bottom out of sheer blinding terror. Guess who is standing at the bottom with a shopping cart, waiting to buy all those discounted assets for pennies on the dollar? Exactly. The people who recognize the pattern. They don't predict the future. They just prepare for the inevitable swing back up. Here is a secret they don't teach you in school. Wealth is rarely ever destroyed in a crash. It is simply transferred. It flows directly from the pockets of the impatient and emotional straight into the vaults of the patient and logical. If you
Food for
can't see the
thought,
pattern,
wouldn't you agree?
congratulations, you are part of the pattern, which brings us perfectly to the next code. Principle number 3, cold, hard data. Because math doesn't care about your feelings. The 99% make financial decisions based on a highly volatile, completely unreliable metric, their emotions. A friend mentions a hot new stock at a barbecue, and suddenly their brain turns into a Las Vegas slot machine. They feel excited, so they buy. They feel scared, so they sell. Their portfolio is just an expensive reflection of their mood swings. 1% operate entirely differently. If you look at their decision-making process, it is incredibly, painfully boring. There are no flashing casino lights or gut feelings. There are only spreadsheets, historical metrics, and cold risk-to-reward ratios. They do not care if an asset has a cool logo or if a million people on the internet are hyping it up to the moon. If the math doesn't make sense, they do not click the button. Period. No math, no money. Motion is the ultimate enemy of wealth accumulation. The moment you let your heart dictate your wallet, you have already lost the game. You see, the financial market is essentially a giant machine specifically engineered to transfer money from the emotional to the mathematical. On one side, you have hype, hope, anxiety, and panic. On the other side, you have pure, unfeeling calculus. Guess which side wins over a 20-year timeline? Spoiler alert, the math always wins. It is undefeated. The wealthy train themselves to detach completely from the outcome. They are not gamblers hoping for a lucky spin. They are the casino itself. If you want to keep your money, you must stop treating your investment account like a scratch-off lottery ticket. But to make those logical decisions, you need space. You need to protect the most valuable asset you have, which brings us to principle 4. Principle number 4, guarding the vault. And no, we are not talking about a bank vault. We are talking about time. The 99% operate on a fundamental misunderstanding of value. They believe money is their most precious resource, so they eagerly trade their time for it. They will gladly spend 4 hours doing a frustrating task just to save 20 bucks. They bleed hours, days, and years, treating their time as if it were an infinite resource. It is not. 1% understand a terrifying reality. You can always print more money, but you cannot print a single extra second. To the wealthy, time is the ultimate currency. They don't want to trade their precious time for money. They want to use their money to buy back their time. This is a massive paradigm shift. While average people are doing their own laundry and mowing their own lawns to save a few dollars, they end up too exhausted to build anything of actual lasting value. Their energy is entirely depleted. The wealthy gladly pay someone else to mow the lawn, not because they are lazy, but because they are calculating. That freed up hour is then ruthlessly deployed into building systems, acquiring assets, or strategizing their next move. They guard their calendars like a maximum security prison. If an activity doesn't have a massive return on investment, it's out. They master the art of saying no. No to useless meetings, no to distractions, no to anything that drains the vault. Because if you don't fiercely protect your time, the world will happily steal it from you to build someone else's dream. But protecting your time is only half the battle. You also have to protect your mind from the people sitting right next to you. Principle number 5, the wealth echo chamber, also known as the ruthless curation of your environment. You have probably heard the cliche, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. It's a cliche because it is scientifically accurate. Look at the 99%. They are trapped in a bucket of crabs. If one tries to climb out and do something different, the others will immediately pull them back down. They will say things like, that's too risky, or rich people are just lucky. They don't do this because they hate you. They do it because your ambition makes their complacency extremely uncomfortable. Slowly, day by day, their fear and small-mindedness infect your brain. Their limits become your limits. The 1% treat their social circle like an exclusive country club. They are incredibly protective of who gets access to their mind. If a relationship is consistently negative, toxic, or pulling them backward, they will ruthlessly cut the cord. People will call them arrogant. They will say, oh, you've changed since you got some money, and the 1% will just smile, because changing was exactly the point. Instead of hanging around people who complain about the economy, they actively seek out rooms where they are the poorest, dumbest person at the table. They want to be surrounded by people who talk about ideas, investments, and massive growth. They build a deliberate echo chamber of success. Your network really is your net worth. You cannot fly with eagles if you are constantly hanging out with turkeys. You can take a healthy seed, plant it in toxic soil, and it will inevitably die. Your environment dictates your growth. But having the right mindset, the right time horizon, and the right friends means absolutely nothing without the final code. Principle number 6, the great divider, execution. If there is one thing the 99% love, it is a good $1 million idea. They will get a brilliant flash of inspiration in the shower. They will talk about it for hours at the bar with their friends, explaining how it's going to change their lives. And then they will do absolutely nothing. They wait for the perfect time, the right economy, or more funding. They wait forever. Here is a harsh reality check. Ideas are cheap. In fact, they are practically worthless. A brilliant idea with zero execution is worth exactly $0. The 1% understand this. They do not wait for the perfect idea. They take an average, messy idea, and they just start moving. They launch before they are ready. They stumble, they fail, and they look foolish. But while they are failing, they are learning. They adjust the plan in real time. They beat the imperfect idea into a working system through sheer unrelenting force of will. And
Are you
5 years later,
serious
the
right
average
now?
guy
How
looks at
could
the
you
successful
possibly think
business
that
and
was a
says,
good
"Hey,
idea?
I had that exact same
Change the
idea."
channel.
Congratulations, Joe. But the market doesn't pay you for what is inside your head. The market only pays you for what you physically manifest into reality. The only bridge between a thought and a fortune is massive action. So there you have it, the 6 codes of the wealthy. But knowing them is the easy part. The human brain is a stubborn piece of hardware. It desperately wants to keep you comfortable, safe, and poor. To implement these 6 codes, you cannot just add them to your existing software. You need a complete factory reset. You have to force the shift. And it starts by constantly catching yourself falling into the 99% traps. When you want a quick reward, you must force your brain to zoom out to the 10-year time horizon. When the news tells you to panic, you must force yourself to look for the repeating historical pattern. When your emotions scream at you to buy or sell, you must let the cold, unfeeling data make the call. When people ask for your time to save a few dollars, you must lock the vault and buy it back. When your friends pull you down, you must have the courage to cut the rope and build a new echo chamber. And when you have a messy idea, you must stop waiting for perfection and start executing with violent momentum. This is not a comfortable process. The gap between who you are now and who you need to become is massive. When you look in the mirror, you have to realize that the person staring back is the exact reason you are broke. Breaking that identity hurts. It requires shattering your ego and admitting that your old rules did not work. You cannot build a 1% fortune on a 99% foundation. The old you has to be completely dismantled. You have to shed the excuses, the complaining, and the victim mentality that the rest of society desperately clings to. Once you make that shift, the game completely changes. The matrix breaks. But there is one final, brutal question. The final piece of the puzzle isn't a strategy, it's the price of admission. Everyone wants to be in the top 1%. Everyone wants the financial freedom, the options, the peace of mind. But nobody wants to pay the invoice when it arrives. Wealth demands a sacrifice of comfort. You are standing at a crossroads. Every single day you have to choose which path to walk. Path A is the 99% highway. It is paved with Netflix, weekend drinking, impulse buying, and sleeping in. Path B is a steep, jagged mountain. It requires waking up early, reading boring financial data, and facing constant rejection. Society is perfectly designed to push you down Path A. The system wants you sedated and comfortable. Every algorithm, every advertisement, and every social norm is begging you to take the easy road. To walk Path B, you have to actively fight against the current of the entire world. You will lose friends. You will face doubt. You will spend years working in the dark with zero applause. But here is the absolute best-kept secret of the wealthy. The pain of discipline is temporary. The pain of regret lasts forever. When you push through that initial resistance, the air gets incredibly clear. You look down from the mountain and realize that the hamster wheel was actually much harder than the climb. The 99% are exhausted from running in circles. The 1% are tired from climbing, but they are free. So the brutal question you have to answer today, right now, is this.
Exactly what we
Which
need to
tired do
focus
you
on.
want to be? If you
Here
are
it
ready to
is,
choose the
the
mountain,
action
you need an
plan.
action plan.
Pay close
You cannot
attention
just
to this
watch this
section.
video and
It's
go back to
exactly what we
sleep.
need.
Step 1 is the input audit. Your mind is a sponge, and right now it is soaking up garbage. You have to ruthlessly delete the apps that steal your attention. Stop scrolling through pictures of other people's fake lives. Replace that garbage with data. Read books, study markets, and reprogram your daily inputs to focus purely on growth. Step 2 is the time audit. You need to look at your calendar and be brutally honest with yourself. If you're spending 20 hours a week watching television or playing video games, you are choosing to be poor. Take those 20 hours and redirect them into building a skill, starting a business, or analyzing investments. Step 3 is the circle audit. This is the hardest one because it involves real human beings. You have to distance yourself from the complainers, even if they are your family, even if they are your oldest friends. If you can't find rich friends in real life, find them in books, podcasts, and interviews. Let their voices become your new echo chamber. We'll warn you right now, this process is incredibly lonely. When you start making these changes, people will push back. They will try to make you feel guilty for abandoning the herd. You have to be willing to walk alone for a while. You will also hit what we call the dip, that terrifying phase where you have put in massive effort but see zero results. This is where the 99% quit and go back to the couch. This is where the 1% keep climbing. If you can
I'm
push
so
through the
glad you could
loneliness
join
and
me
survive the
today.
dip, the math
Ahead of us
guarantees that
lies
you will
the
eventually
clearest
win.
path to
The choice is entirely yours. You can close this video, go back to sleep, and wake up tomorrow exactly the same. Or you can take these 6 codes: time, pattern, data, vault, environment, and execution, and start rewriting your future right now. It won't be easy. It will be the hardest thing you have ever done, but the view from the top is worth it. The clock is ticking. Every second you waste on the hamster wheel is a second you steal from your future self. If you
Be
are
sure to
serious
check
about
out the
escaping
links
the
we've included down in
99%,
the
you need to
description
surround
below.
yourself with the right inputs. Start by hitting that subscribe button. We drop heavy, unfiltered truths about wealth and psychology every single week. Join the
Hello
1% of
there.
people
It's
who
so
actually
wonderful
take
to
action.
meet you.
Click the button and let's
Welcome.
build this empire together. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a lesson in the financial matrix. Remember,
I speak
wealth
to
is
you
not an
now with a
accident.
full heart
It
and
is a
complete
highly predictable
honesty.
outcome for those who
This
follow
is
the
the
code.
path we
Till
Stay
next
cool,
time,
everyone.
stay cold, stay
See you next
calculating,
time.
and guard your vault. This has been your blueprint to the 1% mindset. If you want to dive even deeper, click one of the videos on your screen right now. Keep feeding your brain with the right data and keep pushing forward. Follow us on all social platforms for daily reminders to stay on track. I will see you in the next video. Stay relentless.